Hey everybody, welcome back to the Coworking Values Podcast. I'm Emily, and Bernie and I want to start off today by reminding you that getting together is how we grow, and that's why we want you to come to the next Unreasonable Connection event. We run this video call every month. It's a great way to connect with other co-working professionals, get some inspiration, and find some solutions to some of the problems you're having. Sign up using the link in the show notes. And Bernie, what are we talking about today?
I thought we'd talk about, actually we both thought, so I don't know why I'm pretending, is that relationship between like paid advertising and pay per click and content marketing and getting people to events and kind of, I don't know whether to say growing your audience or growing your list, that type of engaging people stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of like you have to plant a lot of different seeds in your garden and water every one of them every day with intention. So they kind of work all in tandem. So it's kind of hard to know where to jump in at first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And then something that we've experienced working with people is they, and I've never done this, obviously, is it's like, oh, we need to get some more leads or, get some more attraction. And suddenly you go, you're doing like emails and blogs and a bit of social. And then suddenly you go, I'm going to do paid LinkedIn ads. And I just all the time I've been in marketing and communications, people really, they panic buy adverts. And I've definitely done this in the past. So, or someone sends you that, here's £100 worth of Google Ads tokens. And you think, great, wow, 100, how could this go wrong? And then learning which is something you've done, learning paid advertising is, and I definitely haven't done, is a whole new beast on its own. And
yeah,
you need to like inform yourself. It's not something you switch on in an emergency. It's a learned process.
it definitely is. And it's like any technology, it's something that you constantly have to keep abreast of changes. And there are so many changes happening, even as I speak, with Google Ads and different social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, all of YouTube. They're all making really, really drastic changes to their ads platforms as we speak. So it's important to know that when you jump into it, you can spend a lot of money just kind of messing around and trying to figure stuff out. And it can be very, very expensive. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about this today, about all the things that you can do leading up to and before you ever spend a cent on ads. The kind of stuff the co-working spaces do all the time anyway. You want to think about your newsletter, you want to think about your blog, you want to think about your events, you want to think about your content marketing. All of those things feed into your paid ads too and make them perform better ultimately.
And ladies and gentlemen, everything comes back to email. I've been saying this for years, and it's because I've heard people, the people I learned of years ago always advocated for building your email list, because back when Facebook pages first came out, some people were running around saying you'll never need a website again because you can just have a Facebook page and be part of social and have all your, I don't want to say eggs in one basket because that's exactly it doesn't sound very good. But and I remember people standing up at Social Media Week in London and advocating for this, and everyone, like people like Copyblogger, which, both you and I learned a lot of stuff off in the old days. Like when you own your email list, any platform changes won't affect you. And you can move your email list between platforms, and it's always up to you what happens with it. Whereas if you go on to, like there was the WeShare project, which is a big project we were on where this podcast actually started years ago, had something like 25,000 people on a Facebook page. And when we posted to Facebook, it would get 7,000 likes in a week. And then the algorithm changed in about 2015, and it just absolutely throttled it. So you'd get like 300 people paying attention to something, and then you had to pay to get access to the audience that you had built. And I think most people understand this nowadays, but there's all that kind of thing. And then can you say a bit about how much person power it takes, because it's not just, there's like the money, and then there's the learning curve and the time spent maintaining those adverts and paid advertising.
There is, and it is considerable. You really need to have somebody watching them all the time. That's why it is kind of best to get an agency. That way, their only job is to stay up on all those rules, and they manage a bunch of different of accounts. But you have to be super careful because they can be kind of scammy and overpriced, and it's difficult for people who aren't experts to tell what's a good provider from a bad provider. Those indications I would look for is, go onto their socials, go onto their website, check their references, go pretty deep. If you have a tool like SEMrush at your disposal, if you know somebody that there does, do an authority search on them, do a domain overview, and run a report on them to see how authoritative their site is. If their site is not performing well on Google, then you can tell they're not very good at it. That's an easy measure. But you can also kind of tell just by the sort of parasocial data that floats around a website.
So, what are ways that Can you explain really quickly what SEMrush is?
Sure. Yeah, SEMrush, SEM, SEM, if you've ever seen the acronym, it stands for search engine marketing. And it's all of the copy that you might use in the ads, the different types of media that you might use, all the supportive content. That's search engine marketing. It's basically getting all of the content around your paid ads performing really, really well, so that your paid ads can perform better. And that's the kind of thing. It's that the bucket fills drop by drop. You have to do a little bit every day. Post to your Google Business profile every week. Put a new blog post at least 600 words with all your keywords every single month. More frequently is better, but every month at least. Make sure you're putting that out on your newsletters. You make sure you're putting it on your socials. Doing event marketing too, that can be included in your search engine marketing, although sort of in a peripheral kind of way. And we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, the SEMrush itself as a tool, it is plugged into all of the Google platform and pulls a lot of different data about different websites. You can do competitive analysis. And I'm not selling for SEMrush. There are a lot of great tools out there that do the same thing. That's just the one that I've learned how to use, and I'm used to it. But if you have someone who has access to one of those tools that can run reports on your website and kind of give you regular reports, it can be a little pricey to have your own subscription. In the US, SEMrush is between $200 and $600 a month per client. So if you have multiple locations, you'll want to plug in extra ones. It'll cost more each time. Every user is an extra, it's that kind of thing. And pretty much all of the apps are like that.
One thing I want to ask you about is, because I just write, and I kind of know what to write. When I put my content out on the internet, it's read by the same group of people. So I personally don't like write to be found in search, but whenever I get to a project and it's like, what are all the keywords? I kind of freeze up a little bit, and I see clients doing the same thing. So when you say all your if I'm a co-working space and you say all your keywords, do I just take all my keywords, copy and paste? I know you don't. I'm just saying this for comic effect, but copy and paste them into a Google Doc and try and write a post around that? Or
right. So an easy way to do it, the simplest way to do your keywords for a co-working space, is to first off have a list of all of the different names for your location, your area code, and your different nicknames for the areas, the different neighborhoods around you, not just the one you're in, but the ones around you too. Because a lot of, especially Google, like local ads are kind of geofenced around you if you set it correctly. Have all those location keywords in your list first off. Of course, the name of your business. I would also do whatever categories you would naturally have on your blog. So you were talking about the content that you produce, Bernie. Any of the normal categories or tags that you would use in your blog, those are probably your keywords or close to them. They may not be an exact match, but they may be a broad match. So, for example, if you're talking about a co-working space, you might also want to use the keywords workspace, co-working, as well as co-working, as all one word. Yeah, I know. It's going to make you groan, Bernie. I know you hate that.
So the other thing I find myself arguing with people about is the amount of time they spend on social versus the amount of time they invest in their website. And my argument is always like you should invest in your website and invest in your email list, but people love being on social media. And what's your current professional opinion about that?
Well, it needs to be a half and half approach. They're both sides of the same coin. You can write a ton of content and put it on your website, but if you're not putting it out there for people to discover, it's never going to perform at all. It's never going to get any traffic. So you need to do both. There can't be a laser focus on one or the other. I would say that it's better to focus on the content initially, and make sure you have a really good process for producing and publishing content regularly, because not only will that help with organic search, but also you can repurpose that content for social. So if you write a 600-word blog post, you can pull out 3 different quotes and use them in your socials. Now, for the practical sort of technical side of it, social media links are considered no follow by search engine bots, by crawlers. So basically, they won't follow them. They won't include it as part of your sort of the web of content around your website. So it's not going to help your website or your information appear better in search. That's just not going to help at all. But it will help bring people in. So you have to have it both sides. You can't just feed the human side and starve the bot side. You have to feed the bots and the humans. You just have to give them, the food that they like in the format that they like it. So, for example, from the human side, you produce a piece of content for your website and you have to make sure it reads like a human, has things that they're interested in, has some really good relevant images attached to it, interesting places to go with the information, a way to share it, a way to participate potentially somehow if you allow comments on your posts. But also from the technology side of it, you need to make sure that you have your keywords in the alt tags of your images, in that you have outbound links going to other websites within your articles, as well as links going to other places within your website in your articles. Make sure that you have all of your accessibility details in there. You have a description of your images in your images so that if people are using some kind of a device to access the information, if they cannot see the information or see the image, that it will read it out to them. And Google looks at all of that, and all of that makes a difference in your ranking.
And with all that whole list there, I've got some questions about nearly all of those. Is nowadays, if you use like Google Gemini and ChatGTP and go through a list, like I used to get completely lost and I end up like with Googling for things and going down support channels and everything like that. And now you can ask ChatGTP as you go along, like, what do I do here? Screenshot it. Where do I add the tag in here? And it's still long-winded and a bit of a pain in the ass to do, but it's easier to like understand that stuff now than it ever has been, because you can, I don't know, body double, as we like to say, with some kind of AI tool to work through it. Before I forget, what is when you say outbound links, why are they important? Could you explain that bit?
Well, if you only have links that go to other places in your website, you're not connecting to the rest of the web. And what bots look for, search engine bots look for, is for really robust, strong connections to other reputable sites. And that's what increases your authority and what lets the search engine know that you're not a fraudulent site, that you're a real site producing content for actual people, that you've taken care of the human element as well as acknowledged what the bots need in order to determine what kind of content it is.
And then my next bit, moving on super fast, explain a bit about organic search. My favorite thing ever.
So organic search is by far, it is a slow grow kind of method of growing your presence on the web, but it is by far the most sustainable and the most stable. If you've got a blog posts going out once or twice a month, and you're connecting to other reputable sites, and you're having regular events and connecting them, you are sharing it on socials, You're connected to other similar organizations.
So, what sort of organisations? Sorry to interrupt. Do we need to be connected to? What's a reputable organisation?
So it might be industry credentials. It might be your local chamber of commerce or the equivalent in the UK. Different policymakers and councils that you've been in touch with. It can be sponsors. It can be parent organizations that have helped fund your co-working space or helped with building or had partnerships in different business efforts that you've had. Any of those can be the kind of organizations that you want to link to.
I always link to Mark Navarro's site at Coworking Spain because that helps me boost my online authority by hanging out with such a reputable dude. What is so? The other thing is going back to that sort of organic search thing. I think one of the best stories ever is Marcus Sheridan and his "How much does a fiberglass pool cost?" because he's tracked all that in HubSpot since May 2009, and every few years I ring him, speak to him or Connor that's been on this website and say, like, how much has that blog post made? And it's because people searched how much is a fiberglass swimming pool, not who's the best co-working space in London or winner of the best co-working space in London in Ward 1987 or something. And the last time I checked, it was like $22 million worth of revenue has been tracked back to that blog post that he posted in May 2009, because that's what people search for, and it's all organic. And then the story's taken off because I'm sure people look for that because they hear this story. But that was just answering someone's question in a really, very, very simple way.
Well, I think a useful bit of information to attach to that would be SERP, SERP, another acronym, which stands for Search Engine Results Page. So when you search for something in a search engine and you see that list of commonly asked questions and it has the little toggle menu and you can see a quick little clip from somebody's website, that's SERP content. So that's one of the things you can also pull from an app like SEMrush or one of its competitors, is they'll give you a list of SERP content that your competitors are ranking for. And then you can make your own post. So it might be, what's a common question you might ask for a co-working space?
Can I bring my dog?
Yeah, there you go. Can I bring my dog to your co-working space? And it'll give sort of a rundown of common answers in your area. So another thing that you could do is do that search for your competitors and look at their SERP content and then make your own articles. You don't want it to have the same title, not exactly. You don't have the same content. You don't want it to have the same links, but you make a list of ideas based on their SERP content and start building your own library of content. I think it's what they used to call cornerstone content.
Yeah.
They still do. You still need to do cornerstone content and use canonical URLs in your website, and that's a whole other conversation. That way, you start appearing in those organic results, and that actually affects how much traffic you get to your website. Because if you think about it, people are searching for those questions. They get an answer without clicking on your site, so you're not necessarily seeing how often people are seeing that content, but it has this sort of cumulative effect in the tertiary sort of contents and clicks that happen around your website that you won't necessarily see, which helps build your authority.
So the last bit is all that little section we just spoke about. How long does that take a week? Is that I just need to set aside 8 hours a week or a whole day or do half an hour a day or, because that's the thing that always threw me.
Yeah. I would say that in your in an average independent co-working space, you need to have one person that is focused 80% on content all of the time. Somebody who's taking pictures, taking videos, editing blog posts, doing your socials. You need to have that person, because otherwise you can't. It's becomes so difficult for you to pull in all the engagement you get from your events and your content into one place. If you've got two people that work your front desk and then one person who manages your space, those people are going to really, really struggle keeping up with it. And the content production efforts and your marketing efforts will suffer from it. With very few exceptions. I would say the exception would be as if you were part of a chain, but again, that's not an independent co-working space. So since this is our audience, I would say make sure you've got someone that's focused on it. And I know that's tough because most staffs are so small in independent co-working spaces, but it could be the difference between success and an empty co-working space when it comes down to it.
And one of the things I've seen, like at the moment, I'm signing up to a lot of London co-working assembly spaces and their newsletters. So few people send a regular email newsletter, and there's absolutely some people sending regular content that's great, but there's some people that you can see how they've had an intern and suddenly they're like, oh, we can get them to do the newsletter. It's such an afterthought, and it's different every time. The consistency isn't there, and it's like one of the best things you can do to organize your whole content system is like send an email newsletter every week.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think how to say it nicely. Like, if all you do is send a good email newsletter every week and put that article on your website, you'll be, I don't know the exact figure here, but you'll be in the top echelons of people marketing in for the people I'm looking at in London co-working arena.
Yeah.
And one of the best ways to do that is just learn how to use AI. Imagine there was a workshop on how to do that, Emily.
I know. If only somebody did that. Why don't you tell everybody about our AI workshop?
See how seamless we did that. There's so we're going to put a link in the show notes to the AI quiz, and the point of the AI quiz is for you to work out where you are on your AI journey, which apps and things you're using, and in there's a whole list of things that you can tick off. Like, yes, I did know I could do that with AI. No, I didn't know I could do that with AI. Everything from strategy to operations to marketing and stuff like that. And it'll give you a score at the end so you can work out, oh my God, I really need to like put some work on this. Or you may be more ahead in the AI game than you thought. And then on the time of recording this, on the 25th of June, we've teamed up with Urban MBA and Kofi to run a in-person workshop at the Urban MBA HQ just by Old Street Roundabout. And that is going to be, it's a very, very hands-on workshop. You're going to learn why AI is really important for your own productivity and workflow and everything like that. And also how AI will affect the future of work, because how people use AI will start to really impact which members you get in your co-working space. But that's a much bigger topic than we have time for in this podcast, but we'll be back to talk about that more. Is there anything else we need to say before we disappear, Emily?
Just a final word that to go back to what you were saying in the very beginning here, not taking care of these things and just assuming that over time you'll build up organically without doing these steps, without paying attention to them, is kind of like having those businesses out there who only have a Facebook profile. They don't have a website. They don't have a local listing. They're not part of the local chamber of businesses or whatever it might be. It just looks not very professional. If you have your web presence together, you have a thoroughly filled out Google Business profile, you have everything connected, you pay attention to it, and you just do that regular content, even if it's not every week, regular content, and taking it seriously and making sure all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, it makes such a difference.
It's huge. So thank you for your time and attention today, ladies and gentlemen. And if you go to the show notes, there's links on how to find Emily, how to find me, how to find the LinkedIn co-working group, the AI quiz, Unreasonable Connection, and I'm sure there's something else in there I've forgotten. But wherever you are in the world, be careful out there. It is a jungle. Say goodbye, Emily.
Bye, everyone.